Hello and welcome back to part 2 of our gospel series. Today we're going to be going over the birth of Jesus. So this is going to be a two-part episode. It's our two-part Christmas special. So we start off, and I want you to picture you are engaged, betrothed in this situation. We'll go over the differences there. And your soon-to-be wife comes over and she says, "Hey, I know that we haven't done anything. I know we've stayed true, but I have a baby in me. I have a literal baby growing in me, but it's not what you think." So you can imagine Joseph's face at this point. He's probably his throat is fallen into his stomach. And he asks, what are you talking about? And she says, "No, it's the Holy Spirit." And the thing you have to understand about this is nothing about the Holy Spirit has ever been talked about in Jewish tradition. So these words that she's using are completely alien to Joseph. Just to get into the distinction between engaged and betrothed, it's actually a bigger deal to be betrothed at this time in history, because you can an engagement almost means nothing if you think about it. It's a promise. It's incredibly meaningful to those people. It works in our society, but you give back the ring. Sometimes that's an issue with people, and you both go off on your own separate ways, and nothing happens. At this point, when somebody was betrothed, it means that the families came together. These were usually arranged marriages. And you had some kind of price that was paid to the woman's family in order to get her to be married, the dowry type situation. And usually it was pretty, comparatively to what people's income is and all that, it was usually very generous. You can imagine the insult if you tried to give somebody a raw deal. It's almost saying, well, your daughter isn't really worth a tremendous value. Could turn into a pretty serious issue. So when this occurred, this was a major civil violation that would be technically even illegal. According to Deuteronomy, there were people in this situation, and the prescription for it would be that the woman would be taken to the doorway of her father, and it would actually be stoned to death. So Joseph is a classy guy, nice guy, and perhaps that's why God chose him to be the person involved in this story. And he doesn't want to do a lawsuit. He doesn't want to stone Mary. He just says, "All right, you need to be sent away." This might even be the word for whatever the equivalent of divorce is at this time. But you need to get out. You need to maybe go to a different town. And in a way, this is keeping her safe more than anything. So according to Luke, jumping away from Matthew for a little bit, Mary knew. Remember, Mary was much more included in the perspective of Luke. Joseph is much more included in the chapters of Matthew. So according to Luke, though, we know that Mary had been visited by the angels. She was told, "Hey, this is a special baby. You gotta keep it. You gotta be pure until it. And this is gonna be the baby that gives the human race the redemption for the original sin of Adam." So she knows it's a very important baby, and you got to ask yourself, what is she thinking at this point? So she's just talked to Joseph, and he's telling her, "It's over. You got to go. I don't believe it." Do you think Mary was scared at this point? Or do you think that she had a good amount of faith? And just for an application, you would have to think that she probably was pretty confident. If God is capable of putting a baby into a virgin, that's the part, a virgin, you probably could fix a relationship. If God can part the Red Sea or breathe the entire existence, or universe's existence into reality, you'd have to assume that he could probably help somebody's relationship And when you think about it yourselves, if a God's capable of that, he can surely help you with achieving your bills, getting your bills paid, to certainly fix your relationship, certainly stop addiction, any of these things. So something that you should look at here about Mary's confidence at this time and say, hey, maybe we should have also had faith, because there's no record of her saying, darn it, Holy Spirit, you messed up your relationship. I was looking forward to that wedding. I don't know, you're going to just leave me abandoned here. So I like to think that she was pretty confident. We've heard about Mary's encounters with the angels, and now we hear about Joseph's. So Joseph is all ready to pack everybody's bags and figure this out, and he gets a visit from an angel who says, hey, Mary's not lying about this. This is going to be the promised Messiah. This is going to be Emmanuel, God with us. And we'll get more into that a little bit later. So he's told to press on, and he accepts it. And you have to think at this point how hard it is for both of these people. We're talking about a society right now in Judea where these are both pariahs. They might believe it. They might have had these visits from angels, but not everybody did. So everyone's looking at them disgusted, saying, oh, Joseph must not be the moral man I thought he was. If he's going to accept this, he'll probably get mocked. Probably a bunch of horrible things being said behind his back and possibly even to his face. So this kind of brings us to a question of why the virgin birth at all. And that answer goes all the way back to Adam. When you have this virgin birth, he is born without the sin of Adam. When Adam disobeyed God, Adam and Eve disobeyed God, they spiritually died. That was the promise that God gave them, that they would be barred from God forever after death, the spiritual death. That when they died, they would still be away from God. So that could be hell, or that could just be anything away from God. And that was their nature. And you see that passed on generation to generation. You look at Cain immediately after. He ends up inheriting that sinful nature. He's the first child and also the first murderer right from that point. So that's what Jesus is here to do, is to pay for those sins, to be a perfect sacrifice to remedy that. Now, if the sacrifice makes sense, Jesus couldn't have sin, because when he died then, he would be paying for his own sin. That is why he is God with us, Emmanuel, not just someone else, because he needed to inherit that godly quality, that innocence, that sinless nature, to finally break that spell. And it's funny to call it a spell, but now you think about all that God asked Mary and Joseph to do here. First off, pregnancy is rough. My wife is actually pregnant for the first time right now, and we're only a few months in, and she has been queasy the entire time. The emotions are incredible. I think she sobbed relentlessly about not being able to go to buffets anymore. Just the other night, there was a storm coming, and she cried about the storm coming. And it's a lot. So Mary had to do all this while becoming a pariah from our entire society, while risking her relationship. Joseph has the scorn of everyone around, is being mocked, all these terrible things. But they both keep their word. They don't have any kind of relations until the child is born, to establish that it's completely without the taint of sin and sexuality. And you kind of have to ask yourself, all you have to do, all we have to do, is believe. That's the challenge, to accept Jesus into your life and simply let him work through you. So it's almost nothing compared to what a lot of people in the book are asked to do. So we're going to get into a little bit more of the Christmas element of this, which is probably one of my favorite topics biblically, because there's so much we learn, our nativity set, or just the story in general. It's so much more beautiful and so much deeper. The tells of the wise men and why they're there. Because you ask yourself, why are they there? Why are these people from the East, who aren't Jews, coming to worship this baby Jew? Never asked yourself that when you're growing up. You just figure, oh, they must have known Jesus. But that's a truly amazing story that goes back thousands of years before this even occurs, and shows the brilliance and the Holy Spirit that wove the story together from the Old Testament to the New Testament. So I'm looking forward to going over that. I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's comments. Remember, like, comment, share, send this to at least 5,000 people. I think would be the prescription there. And we'll talk next time. Have a great day.